What does a heart do? Does anyone not have a heart in here? Put up your hand if you don't have a heart. Karen? Do you have one?
Yeah.
Right, what does it do? It pumps blood. That's a good answer. What's it made of? It is a muscle. There are 3 types of muscle in your body. Yep, there's Des and Troy, which we call skeletal muscles. You've got muscle inside your blood vessels, which are called smooth muscle, and you've got muscle inside your heart that's called cardiac muscle, because cardiac means heart. Okay? And it pumps blood. So we need to know the structures of the heart. Okay? There's a diagram. My diagram will not be as fancy as the diagram with the sheet you've got. Okay? Whoop. Okay? Right? And there's some things we need to talk about. We need to be able to label. 1. This is normally a question in your test, which is label the heart. Okay? 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. That is the blood flow through the heart from start to finish. So we'll always go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, it goes in that order. You need to know the order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Right. Number 1 is a blood vessel that brings blood back to the heart. It's called the vena cava. Veins always return blood to the heart. Okay? Number 2 is the right atrium. The top chambers of the heart are called the atrium. Number 3 is the tricuspid valve. Number 4 is the right ventricle. Number 5 is the pulmonary semilunar. I'll be using all of these words in a minute to describe everything. Semilunar valve. Number 6 is the pulmonary artery. Arteries always take blood away from the heart. Veins is towards the heart, arteries is away from the heart. And 7 is the lungs. What happens at the lungs? Anyone tell me? You guys did the respiratory system last week. What happens at the lungs? There are 2 major things that happen at the lungs. The general process starts with G. Starts with G. It's got 2 words. First one G, second one starts with E. Been another clue?
Yes.
Starts with G, ends in gas exchange.
Gas exchange.
You guys need hardly any clues. Gas exchange is the first one. So I'll just write GE, the gas exchange. But the way that the gases are exchanged is by a word that you already know. I'll give you a clue. You might remember this diagram.
Diffusion.
Diffusion, well done. All right. In the lungs, are you taking, there's oxygen and carbon dioxide. Do you take in oxygen and get rid of carbon dioxide, or do you get rid of oxygen and take in carbon dioxide?
Carbon dioxide and take in oxygen.
Yes, so here you take in oxygen and you give, or you lose carbon dioxide. That's what happens in your lungs. We call it gas exchange, and it happens through the process of diffusion. Yeah? Right, that was number 7 at the top there. Now blood is going to return to the lungs. What type of blood vessel approaches the heart? An artery or a vein?
A vein.
A vein. Now, the word pulmonary means lung. So pulmonary artery is an artery that's going to the lungs. What would we call the vein that's coming from the lungs?
Pulmonary.
Well done, the pulmonary vein. Pulmonary vein. Number 9 is the left atrium. Number 10 is the bicuspid valve. The bicuspid valve also has a special name. It's also called the mitral valve. The mitral valve. Now, does anyone know what a cusp is? A cusp is a flap. Okay. How many flaps do you think are on the tricuspid valve? 3 cusps. So this one, if you're looking down through it, it will look like this. Yep. What about the bicuspid valve? How many flaps would that have? 2. So if we look down through that one, it would have 2. Right? A semi-lunar. What does lunar mean?
Moon.
The moon. What about a semi-lunar? What would that be?
Half moon.
A half moon or a little crescent of a moon. All right. So the semi-lunar here has 2 flaps that look like half moons that overlap each other. Okay. So 11 now is the left ventricle. 12 is the aortic semi-lunar valve. 13 is the aorta, which is the biggest artery in your body. All right, and then 14 is the body. Now, at the body, which is the body cells, I guess, body cells, something happens here. A little bit more. This is where they exchange gases again. What would we call that? Gas exchange. Well done. In the gas exchange at the cells, we're dealing with 2 gases being oxygen and carbon dioxide. What would we do with each? Because remember, the blood here at 7 has taken up oxygen and it's got rid of carbon dioxide. What's the blood going to do down there? What's the blood going to do down there? The blood down here takes carbon dioxide from the cells and it gives the cells oxygen. Right. And then The process that occurs at where you go from a high concentration to a low concentration?
Diffusion.
Diffusion. Well done. All good? So you need to know that. You need to know the structures of the heart. You need to know the order that they go through or the blood goes through. So it'll start at the vena cava, go into the right atrium, through the tricuspid valve, into the right ventricle, through the pulmonary semilunar, into the pulmonary artery, to the lungs where it picks up oxygen and gets rid of carbon dioxide. Then it comes back in the pulmonary vein to the left atrium, through the bicuspid valve, also known as the mitral valve, into the left ventricle, through the aortic semilunar, through the aorta and to the body where it drops off its oxygen and takes up carbon dioxide, then returns to the heart again in the vena cava. You need to know that sequence. Okay? It's one of the things that's always asked. Yes?
What's the difference between what the lungs do and what the body cells
The direction of the gas transport. At the lungs, you take in oxygen. You take it in, then the blood carries it and drops it off at the body cells. Carbon dioxide, it picks up the carbon dioxide from the body cells and takes it to the lungs to drop it off for you to breathe out. This is why you breathe in oxygen, you absorb it, but you breathe out carbon dioxide. The blood is transporting it. The blood transports all sorts of things. All right? The blood transports all sorts of things like gases, which is oxygen and carbon dioxide, but also transports heat. Right? Also transports things like glucose from your intestines, and you've absorbed and takes it around to all the cells as well. All good? Right. Now we're going to talk about it in a little bit more detail. So this is the basic structure and the blood flow. There's one other thing I would say is this wall in the middle. This wall in the middle has a name. I'll write it there. Does anyone know Latin or ancient Greek? Nobody? It's called the septum. The septum means wall, and it separates the left side from the right side of the heart. Because this side of the heart, the right side of the heart, has deoxygenated blood, which means there's no oxygen in the blood. The left side of the heart has oxygenated blood. It carries oxygen. And what you don't want is to get the mixing of the two, right? You don't want to have blood that has no oxygen being mixed with the blood that has oxygen and then pumped around the body, because it means half the blood will have no oxygen, and it's not supposed to be that way. Okay? So there's a wall there called the septum that separates the two. Okay? I'm going to rub that out, and we're going to talk about the sheet. Now we're going to talk about the heart. Yeah. All right? Okay? So, at some stage, I'll order a heart for you to cut up. Okay? Probably next week. You don't have a heart. You don't need to worry.
Where do you get them?
From primary school students. When they come in one day, we say, "Oh, can we just borrow your heart?" And they go, because they don't know any better, they go, "Yes, yeah, you can have it." And they go, right, they reach in, and they grab it, and they pull it out, and then we like collect a whole bucket of them, all right, and then we just bring them up here and cut them up. But when we're finished with them, we'll give it back to them. All right. No? All right, you don't have, if you want to keep it, you can. You want to have two hearts. You only want to have one. Yes.
Is every heart in like different animals the same? Or?
No. But maybe we'll talk about that later. Okay, so we already know here we've got the right atrium here. Yeah? the atrium are always at the top. So right atrium, left atrium. The way that we say over here, you might be looking, think, oh, that's on the left-hand side, but you've got to think about it, it's in your chest here. So the right is here and the left is on this side. Okay, so it's like it's inside your body looking out. Okay, so the right atrium has thin walls. It has thin walls because it only has to pump blood to the right ventricle. And that's only a few centimeters, probably 2 centimeters away. It doesn't have to pump blood a very long way, so it doesn't need a strong muscle. So it has very thin walls. So this wall out here is very thin. All right. We know that it needs to go through the tricuspid valve. How many flaps did the tricuspid valve have?
3.
3. All right. What does the valve do? So here is the valve that has gone through, the tricuspid valve. What does a valve do? What do you think a valve does? Yep. Sorry, allows things to pass through. Well done. It makes the blood travel in one direction. It allows it in the direction you want to go, but doesn't allow it to go backwards. Right? So blood can only move from the atrium to the ventricle. Right? Because that valve is there. When the bottom of the heart contracts, it can't go backwards. That's good. Well done, Ollie. Right. Right. So if we talk now the tricuspid valve, we've said before, has 3 flaps. Well, it's called the tricuspid. Yep. And now we're going to talk about the right ventricle. The right ventricle has thicker walls. Whereabouts is the right ventricle pumping blood to? Well done. It's pumping it to the lungs. Pumps blood to the lungs. Through what valve did I say was there? If it's going to the lungs, what's the special word that means lung? If it starts with P? Pulmonary. Well done. It's pulmonary and it's made of 2 half moons. Well done. The pulmonary semilunar valve. Through the pulmonary semilunar valve. And what does a valve do, Johnny? We just spoke about it. Anyone want to help Johnny? If you were to give Johnny a clue, what would you say to him without telling him the answer, but give him a clue? All right, like a kangaroo walking. That's the clue. Okay? What does a valve do? The clue is like a kangaroo walking. And this is the reason the kangaroo is on our coat of arms. Like the emu, because the emu has the same characteristic, apparently. Can only go forward, not backwards. See, Johnny now knows that valves only allow blood to travel in one direction, and he also knows that kangaroos and emus can only walk forwards, not backwards. What an education. Right. So it goes through the pulmonary semilunar valve. Allows it to travel forwards, not backwards. Now, this blood vessel up here, PA, because it's going to the lungs, what is the special word that means lung? Pulmonary. And the blood vessel is moving away from the heart. So what sort of blood vessel moves away from the heart? Artery. So it's a pulmonary artery. Okay? And then it goes off to the lungs, and that's where the gas exchange takes place. Yes? So on this side, was the blood oxygenated or deoxygenated?
Deoxygenated.
It had no oxygen in it. All right, so we'll write down here deoxy. Deoxygenated blood. What color is deoxygenated blood? Yes? It's bluish. Yeah, bluish, dark red to blue. Some people say purple. Okay? Just don't say bright red because that's oxygenated blood. Okay? It's going to get oxygen at the lungs. It's going to become oxygenated at the lung. All right? So now the oxygenated blood, what color is oxygenated blood?
Right, right.
Bright red. Now, if you're in a zombie movie and a zombie was walking and you got out your, what are you going to kill a zombie with? No, it needs to be more exciting than that. A chainsaw.
Oh God, yeah.
No? Because we want to chop his arm off. More appropriate.
Like a pitchfork.
No, we've got to chop his arm off.
Kitchen knife.
An axe.
No.
Yes.
Huh? A meat cleaver.
Yeah.
Huh? Stapler's not going to cut his arm off. Anyway, so a zombie has had his arm cut off and it spurts out bright red blood. Is that oxygenated or deoxygenated? Oxygen. All right. And if he was traveling on the other and you cut off his other arm and blue blood came out, deoxygenated blood. The zombies are real. Right. Now, we've got a blood vessel that's leaving the lungs. So what is the special P word that means lung?
Pulmonary.
Pulmonary. And it's returning to the heart?
Vein.
Vein. So the pulmonary vein. The pulmonary vein, all veins travel towards the heart. Okay, all arteries travel away from the heart. All right, and then we're coming into the left atrium. Does anyone have an atrium at their house? Does anyone have an atrium? Does anybody, when think about where your front door is, right? Do you have a little room that people go into before they go into your house? They just go straight into your house.
So it's like a entry.
It's like a little entry.
And it's like kind of like a hallway, but it's like wide.
It's like a little room where you might put umbrellas and coats and gumboots.
It's kind of like a lounge room, but at the starting off.
It's just a little room where you welcome people into before you let them into your house. Right, so in ancient times, before you walked into someone's house, you would go into their atrium before they would let you into their house. So the word atrium is a place where you would welcome people in before they then went into your house. And that's why the top rooms here, the top ventricles, the top chambers are called atria. So you've got the right atria, and the atria is plural of atrium. Okay? But that's why it's called that. Now the left atrium is going to pump blood through the bicuspid valve. So right up here, LA for left atrium. How thick are the walls going to have to be in the left atrium if it's only going to pump blood to the left ventricle?
Thin.
Thin. So thin walls. Thin walls. And what valve is it going to go through? The bicuspid valve. And what does the bicuspid valve look like?
Like cut in half.
It's two flaps. Yep. Through the bicuspid valve. The bicuspid valve has a special name though, doesn't it? It's the only valve that have a really special name.
Right.
Yes? Mitral valve. Well done. It's also known as the mitral valve. Sometimes in tests it talks about the mitral valve and some students just don't know what it is. It's just another name for the bicuspid valve. Now we are over here, the tricuspid valve has 3 flaps. The bicuspid valve only has 2. Okay? Why does it have thin walls?
Because it doesn't.
Why does it have thin walls, Amelia?
Sorry, what's it called?
You weren't paying attention.
I understand.
No. Why does it only have thin walls, Xavier? How far is it pumping the blood? Leo, do you want to help him? If you were to give him a clue without telling him the answer, what would you say? Jet, you're the master of clues. What would you say to Xavier to give him a hint about what the answer is without telling him the answer? You just told him the answer.
No, I said
That wasn't a clue.
That's a good clue. 1 + 1.
All right. It doesn't have to go very far, so it doesn't need very thick walls. Clues have to be better than that. That was too straightforward. Didn't even that clue to Johnny about kangaroos was better. You had to think about it. 1 + 1. Generally, students can do that. Generally. All right. Generally, yeah. Can you do 1 + 1? She got it. Right. Then we go into the left ventricle. Now, whereabouts is the left ventricle going to pump blood to, Mr. Nemo? It's going to pump blood to where? Yes, and where's the aorta going to go? No, not going to the lungs again.
The body's.
Johnny. Oh, more general than that. To the body cells. Now, which part of your body is the furthest away from your heart? Xavier? Where's your heart, Xavier? Right. Where's the furthest away from your heart? Your feet. Well done. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's about as athletic as I've ever been. Oh, all the way to the tips of your toes. So, to be able to go that far, is the ventricle going to have to be strong or weak? Strong. So if it's going to be strong, thick walls. What is it going to do? What's it going to generate to allow the blood to get right down to the tips of your toes?
Carbon dioxide.
What's it going to generate?
Energy.
Is another P word. The thick walls are going to generate pulmonary. Peanuts? No. Porcupines? No. PR. Pressure. Well done. The thick walls are going to generate pressure. The thick walls are going to generate pressure. Enough pressure to allow your blood to get all the way down to your toes. All right? And on this side, we've said that the blood is oxygenated. Yes? What colour is it if it's oxygenated?
Right.
Bright red. Okay? And then it's going to go through another valve that looks like 2 half moons, but it's going to go to the aorta. How did you know that word? Oh. I was going to talk about the Antarctic and what does the word Antarctic mean?
Cold desert.
Yeah, but what does the word Antarctic mean?
Desert.
The word Antarctic means cold.
At the bottom.
Would you be surprised if you were wrong? The word Antarctic means no bears. Anti means no. Arc means bear. There are no polar bears in the Antarctic. At the South Pole, there's no polar bears. The polar bears are only at the Arctic, which means bears. Oh, that's a little thing you can say. When you go home tonight, you can say, Robbie, you can say, Mum, do you know what the word Antarctic means? And she'll go, cold. And you go, no, it means no bears.
Wait, is that in there?
No. There's only yes, but that doesn't say Antarctica doesn't mean no penguins. It just means no bears. There's no polar bears in Antarctica. It's a long way to swim. Oh, they'd probably be eaten by a whale before they got there. Right. Through the aortic. Robbie, what does the aortic semilunar valve look like? Kieran, what does the aortic semilunar valve look like? Well, I know because you're rocking on my chair. Two half moons overlapping. All right. So if you want to see what it looks like, get a half moon there, and then overlap them, and then when it opens, and when it closes. Open, close, open, close.
There's a space in between.
No, it completely closes.
Oh, but
Because what does a valve do?
has a flap.
What does it
Well,
do?
allows blood to go free and forward,
But not back.
But not backwards. Now, if there was a hole there,
Oh,
between
then
them,
it'll go
would the blood be able to go backwards?
Yeah.
Yes. So when they close, there's no gap, and when it opens, there is a hole. Yes? Right.